Welcome to the Aligned Powerhouse, the podcast for executive women who are done leading from burnout and ready to rise from alignment. I'm your host, Dr. Brittany McGeehan, licensed psychologist, high performance and mindset coach, and guide for high achieving women who are ready to lead, live, and love without abandoning themselves. Here, we unpack the nervous system truths, mindset shifts, and emotional patterns that drive your leadership so you can build power from the inside out. Let's get into it. All right. Hello. Welcome to today's episode. Okay. Today I am so excited. We are diving into essentially a response and something that has shown up for me as I saw the world respond to an event that happened a few weeks ago, I think, where there was a room full of 7 and 8 figure female incredible entrepreneurs in one space, and they opened up the door. They pulled the curtain behind what it was like to be in such an intimate, highly curated space. And then the next step after that was that all of these women posted their own responses and processes and downloads that they took away from this event, right? And it was phenomenal to get to see in so many different ways. And one of the things that really stood out to me, right? So the woman who pulled me into this event is someone that I adore. Her content is so powerful. So Jessica Zweig, if you do not know who she is, highly recommend her podcast, her content, her books. And now I feel like a very profound, personally, I enjoy her team. Recently I reached out to them, and when you're in this space and you're growing, you basically get told to eat glass for decades until eventually maybe you break through and you make a bigger impact, you gain audience, whatever it is. And so I am not, and that paired with a very audacious sense of confidence, and I will start a conversation with anyone and we'll just see where it goes, kind of mentality means that I have been ghosted a whole lot. I have been told no even more than I have been ghosted. And sometimes you get moments where someone fully receives you, sees you, and is open to the connection because they also have the capacity in that moment, whatever it is. Anyway, I recently have been going back and forth with their team, and I just, not everyone is who they say they are online. They're not always that way behind closed doors because it's hard because, oh my gosh, it's a business, right? But when I tell you, there was a very personal, I'm like, oh my gosh, no guys, but really, she's the best thing ever. Her team is the best thing ever. They're just really phenomenal humans. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of her stuff, and she was the person who posted, I don't know if it was first, but she was just the one that I was following, and she had this picture, and I had this moment of oh man, what would it be like to be in this room? But that was actually posted on the tail of me having had a dinner party the week before, I think, or maybe 2 weeks before. And it really didn't dawn on me the caliber of humans who were in that space until afterwards. And that was really from me sitting down and wanting to care for my capacity, but also really lean into the fact that I'm really good at connecting with people. That is what I enjoy. That's why I think I enjoy marketing and sales and all those kinds of things. To me, it's just you're walking around dating a whole bunch of people and figuring out do we get along? And if we do, amazing, let's talk even more. And if not, that's okay. What are you looking for? Let's match you with this person. I don't know. So I had this moment as I saw this picture, because there were just these really huge names, right? I think Jen Gottlieb was in there, and Amy Porterfield and Jessica Zweig. And I was just what would it be like to be in this room? And I had the immediate follow-up thought of like, oh my gosh, like I was in that room. I was in my own version of it. And that is wild, right? And I was also really excited to like see that be the follow-up thought. There wasn't a sense of going like one down or admiration, like looking and now but also I do look up to these women, like let's be very real and very honest. Okay. So much admiration and respect for the machines that they have built and the way that they have done it, right, which is with all of themselves. But instead it was this moment of connection and more of like wholeness, and how like what a freaking cool time to be on this planet. And to be sharing space with these kind of human beings, and this duality, right, of we are in this age of AI where everything is faster, and I think the playing field has massively been leveled for business owners in particular who have been grinding and been pushing and hustling and all of these things, to where now you have the opportunity to build an entire staff of AI, like AI bots, AI buddies. I don't know how to phrase it. But it's really, I think, and what I've observed is that it has us really reimagining our humanity. It has us reimagining in a really creative way, like, how do you actually want to be in this world? Because now one and one doesn't have to be two. Now we can play with things a little bit more. And it really just had me pulled to talking to you today. If you are in this space of wanting something new, because so many of my audience members are like, you do, right? Like, I know who you are. You are building a business, you are building relationships, and your version of all isn't purely dictated by what tax bracket you are in. It is not purely dictated by how many zeros are in the bank. You also want to come home and know, not have to ask, but you know how your kid did at soccer the night before because you were there. You were present for it. And your partner leans over and holds your hand at dinner, and you both are kind of like, this life is crazy, and how cool is it that we get to live it at the same time? My community, our community that we have co-created, is one that we want the zeros in the bank. Let us not, right? Shy away from that, but we want ambition, and more importantly, we want a life that feels on the inside on a Tuesday night. Okay, when you're out in the street and the kids are running crazy and they're with their friends, that feels just as good on a random Tuesday summer night when you're drinking your lemonade and you are chatting with the neighbors, as it does when you're sitting in a boardroom or you are stepping onto a stage. Because let me tell you that everything that these women, I saw like some comment, because a lot of these women said, as I was invited to this event, I was like, oh my gosh. And as I was sitting in this room, I had this belief, this thought of like, I don't belong here, right? Here's the thing, that for those of us who are on, I want to say the outside looking in, like that's the only way I can kind of conceptualize it. But if we perceive ourselves as being on the outside looking in, is that we perceive that like something is going to change when you jump a tax bracket, or when you finally hit this number or this magical 7 figures, right? But guys, I've been doing this a really long time. And I can tell you that like your issues, your problems, your anxieties, your fears, I don't belong in this room, that doesn't go away just because you cross a certain revenue marker. In fact, depending on how you're doing it, those issues get magnified and you must deal with them. And so this is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about what I am seeing, especially behind closed doors, because again, my community, my retreat, the women that I have in my like active ecosystem, they define metrics of success very differently. And I want to ensure that everyone has access to this, right? As you're listening and as you're building and you're plotting out the rest of your year, okay? I want to act as like another equalizer. I want to hand you something that is actionable because, you know, I am who I am. But I can like feel my body language pulling in, like, you need to hear this message, is that the women, especially though, I really like women, men too, let's be very honest, but the women at the top, they not only have redefined what it is to be successful, but there are new metrics of success that you must have in your back pocket in the game as you are continuing to plan and iterate and pivot. And I hear so much conversation about, you know, fear with AI and what is this going to do to us? What is this going to do to our jobs? All of that is real. All of that is valid. There's also a piece of we're co-creating with AI. We can move with AI. And I want to give you like metrics that you can have in your back pocket rather than just saying, go build a life that feels really good on a Tuesday. Blah, blah, blah. Like what I find, especially if you're in the messy middle of all of this, is that it's like, okay, cool, but I don't know how to define that. I don't know what that looks like. If I'm not saying that I'm successful because of the brands that I wear and the car that I drive, and don't get me wrong, I love me a nice thing. Okay. But like, what else does that look like? That's what we're really going to unpack today. Okay. And so again, if you are the woman who you're also probably transitioning out of this or you prioritize other things, right? This is for you. If you are wondering what a licensed psychologist who specializes in developmental trauma and identity reformation, and that quite frankly, a lot of these women, they come to see, like at the tippy top, they come to see me for nervous system work, right? I have not treated nor worked with any human who was in that room, just FYI. There are no HIPAA violations here. But that is my clientele, right? If you're wondering what I see when I look at this event, I look at this experience, because I experience it in multiple different ways. There's the clinician in me who comes online, and then there's the human piece of me. And like, that is what we're going to unpack today. Okay. So first and foremost, let's get really clear about where we have started. I would say for me, honestly, like this model of building business, it was present even up until I would say like 5 years ago. It was about 5 years ago that, at least in my systems, my world, that I started to see more of a shift where people were even open to the idea of publicly saying, I want work-life balance. I don't need to optimize every single thing. I want to make a lot of money, and I don't want to burn my life to the ground while I do it. Up until then, what I was seeing was that hustle culture was that was the sexy thing, right? Now it's like a whimsy summer and like so here for the whimsy. But now like that's what's trending, and scaling is what's trending. These are all the hot words that like no one really knows what they mean, but we love them. Grind was out there. Optimization was a really big thing. Productivity was still very, very closely knitted to a sense of identity, right? And so as I was working with women, they were really coming in behind closed doors, not wanting to publicly acknowledge that they needed this work done. And there was a huge lack of community, but there was also kind of like a hush hush that I need to do this work. Is, what I see now is people got really tired. The women are fed up, right? And so that is the transition. And I will tell you, this hustle, this optimization, what it created was that success is external to us. That's something I want you to write down. That's something I want you to have awareness over when you're reimagining your version of success in your business. what metrics do you define it by? Because this older model, and the longer you interfaced with that, meaning the longer you were in business, up until 5 years ago, the more highly ingrained this is going to be in you, right? If everything on your list has to do with revenue, number of employees, number of clients reached, number of offers like launched, all of that is external. It does not have to do within you. And what this necessitates is a disconnection internally. So fast forward a couple years and people got really burned out. They got really burned out, and they were still really good at their jobs. Again, and I'm biased. This is my audience. Like, they were climbing, they were killing it, right? The disconnection, it worked. I call this the powerhouse paradox. This is the idea that the trauma responses that disconnect you from your knowing, your intuition, your body is the very thing that will get you promoted or help you jump a few revenue brackets, right? It is effective depending on how you define effective. And so women burned out, relationships were strained, and success really did not translate into fulfillment. And it will tell you what happened in my world is that women were coming in purely for their relationships, right? And it really took a little bit of safety for them to be able to say, and also the corner window with the windows, and it's swanky and it's sexy. It doesn't actually feel the way that I imagined it was going to feel. And now what? Right? Now what? Because now I've built an entire life. I have sacrificed everything. I've used all of my capacity to build and drive at this goal. And damn, it doesn't feel how I thought it would feel. So now what? And who am I? Right? So like it was massively, it needed to break. That model has broken. I think in large part, COVID was a huge instigator, catalyst of a lot of the shifts that we were seeing, right? I think now AI is another one. It's going to be another huge catalyst, and depending on what you want, who you are, and like what you are like on this earth to be doing, right? I see so many women who they play at the top. They play at the top and they are phenomenal at what they do. And I will tell you that they are sitting back and they are asking themselves, is this how I want to do it? And, or do I want to walk away from all of it? Do I want to burn it all down? Do I want to like start a new company? Do I want to pursue my own business? What does this mean? The other thing is like, they are very tired of taking shit. And I like love this. I really love this. And within this too, right, what we see is that this comes from a place of desiring depth. First and foremost, it comes from desiring depth in their relationships that have helped them stay, afloat, but it really hasn't allowed them to feel fulfilled. The other thing is that emotional intelligence is skyrocketing right now, especially with AI. We are seeing that the connections are made so quickly. I will tell you that whenever I started in this industry, 10, 15, I don't know, something like that years, however many years ago, what I saw was that what my clients were craving was the intellectual connections. Okay. Now that's still technically like what they think they want, and what they actually want, but they also like, they are like, how does it make me feel? Make my body feel better. Okay. They lead with their minds, so we start there, but it's also connecting this to like the rest of who they are, right? And as this emotional intelligence rises, people are like, they're more discerning, they're quicker. And with that, they don't have as high of a need for like the BS, because it doesn't just apply to their marriages anymore. Now they know, because the little like Jane robot is telling them like, hey, you need more nurturing female relationships in your life, or women relationships in your life, right? And so go build those. And then people are like, oh gosh. But then they go and talk with someone and they can feel when the vibe is not there. They can feel when there's disconnection or there's just not space for a healthy relationship to come through. The other thing, and again, I think this is where I see AI as being a huge catalyst, is it's so funny because, I've been following sort of the rise of AI. I think I've been watching it for the last 3-4 years, and I would say in the last year it's like overnight I feel like we woke up and it was everywhere, right? And the way that it is evolving is just insane right now. But I wondered way back in the day, as we were just barely learning about what this concept was, this technology was, I wondered if we were going to end up like WALL-E. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that movie, but there's this movie called WALL-E, and they all kind of have the screens in front of their faces, and they're all just sort of numbed out, eating food to like literally numb out. And I wondered, is that where we're going to end up? But here's what I am seeing and what I saw mirrored and reflected in this event that these women shared with us is that it's doing the opposite. I think that people are becoming so mindful of the way that they are interacting with technology. They are becoming so mindful of where they put their resources and their capacity. Like, what is it on their pie, right? Keeping in mind you got eight little tabs at one moment. You get 8 of them. Where am I actually allocating those resources? People have a higher bar of what they want to be doing with their time, and they are driving rapidly toward real connection. Not just cold pitching off the internet, not just sliding into like someone's DMs. Oh, that's literally what I did to Jessica's wife. But like, there's real, genuine prioritization on the human being on the other end of these screens that we are all very attached to. And again, I might be biased, but what's happening in my world, in my neighborhood, is that we're having block parties and we are having dinner parties and we are intentionally creating systems around human connection. Okay. And with that, I think that the large event sort of scheme, it's not a scheme though, but like just the age of larger events is rapidly declining. People don't want that. I can speak for myself. I don't want that. I'm not going to an event with 50 people at it. Like, absolutely not. I want the room with 20. I want the room with 15 so that I can walk away with real, substantial, significant relationships. And I want it to be curated. I want it to be intentional in the same way that I create and host spaces. So this is really important to be thinking about, right? Like, as a whole, as a society right now, what I see is that we are moving from being performance-based and wired in our connection, right? So performance-based connection to emotionally honest connection, emotionally attuned connection. I would also say like in alignment with, because if I had $1 for every time I have seen that, hey, we really want to connect, and also right now isn't the moment. Can we reconnect in 3 months? That is happening left and right. And I think that is really beautiful too. People are saying yes and not right now. And that says my plate is full. And I still want to be a part of this. I want this conversation, but like, hey, can we do it at a time when it's more a lot? It is the absolute coolest thing to see and to get to experience and witness on the other end of it. The other thing, and sort of where this draws me in, right, is I really see this huge, and then this is what my trauma brain, my lens saw as I was looking at this event that these incredible women put on, and then the vulnerability that they shared with all of us, right, was there is such a return. There's a rise of women who are returning to self. right? Self with like capital S, the self that like connects all of us, but also the self that holds our littles and all of the pieces of us, right? It is a movement. This is a moment in time where there absolutely are horrible things happening in this world, but there is also a movement of women who are deeply reconnecting to the wisdom that their body is offering them. And they are trusting those internal signals, and they are making decisions from, alignment and not pressure. And I think this is huge because the way that I conceptualize business is it is a manifestation of what you are put on this earth to share with us. It is my personal relationship to the spirituality of business, right? And I think that is just so incredibly important. So, okay, because also like the cleaners are here, so we're going to wrap this up a little bit quicker. I want to leave you with the metrics that I want you to be measuring. We're so human today. Oh my gosh. I did not plan this very well, and I'm so grateful for them. But I want to give you really quickly these new metrics, and I want you to write these down. Okay, because this is what then I want you to take, and I want you to put the transparency over your business and just see, how are we ranking? How are we moving? And here is something I can actually define and measure, rather than just like, I want it to feel good. Okay. So in the past, we have been defining our metrics of success have looked like revenue, output, and status. Okay. Versus now, let me try to wrap up really quickly. Now what I am seeing is that we are measuring success by the nervous system stability, meaning our ability to ride the waves as they come. Not meaning there's no stress, but meaning I can recover and not avoid the stress as it shows. It's not derailing the rest of my day. We're also measuring by relational depth, right? Not just this person paid me, but I feel communion with this person. I feel community with this person. I feel as though I genuinely want to be with them. We are measuring success by the amount of self-trust that we are feeling with ourselves. So our ability to execute in alignment with our vision, and for our body and our sense of self to know and trust that we can take risks. We can step outside of the box because we know that we're going to catch ourselves on the other end of it. And then our capacity to hold life. What is your capacity to actually bring your best self to your evenings with your kids, or to align your calendar with what you say your priorities are, right? Success is now being measured by how you feel and experience the life that you built, rather than how much you're paying in taxes every year. So, okay, we are being so human right now. And I have like so many thoughts on but I don't want y'all to listen to that background noise. I do. I have so many thoughts on what this means for networking moving forward, and relationships to our business. But I'm going to make that another episode. And yes, we are going to leave that here for today. That way I am mindful of noise, all the things that y'all are listening to. Okay. I hope that today's episode was helpful, and I will see you on the next one. Alrighty, friend, that is all for today's episode of the Aligned Powerhouse podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And do me a favor, if this episode resonated, I want you to share it with another powerhouse woman in your life who is ready to lead and love from a place of self-trust. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a quick rating or review. It really does help more women find this work. New episodes drop every week. Until then, lead with self-trust and let yourself be seen.